In a recent peer group meeting, one of my members asked the question, how do we make money from AI anyway? And the group kind of sat around and we looked at each other and went, that's a really good question. And so we thought about it and talked about it for quite a little bit. As we talked about it, we discovered that most of the AI related conversations were about the ideas around how to use AI within our own businesses and make our lives a little easier by using it, but not really how to actually generate new revenue from it. And so that was a really good question that kind of prompted a really solid conversation. I believe that AI is the next big thing, and it's the next big thing in a list of big things in our space. And really the most recent one being security, right? And security is going to be here for the foreseeable future. I think AI is just that next progression of things that we're going to be talking about for a bit. My name is Adam Hanneman. Welcome to Ramblings of a Geek. I've seen big things come and go in my tenure in the MSP space. Over the past couple of decades, we've seen all kinds of stuff kind of come in and leave and upgrade and move around and those kinds of things. So we're going to be talking about AI a little bit more frequently over the next few weeks. This probably won't become a long-running thing that I'm going to talk about, but I think it's worth digging into a little bit, especially when it comes to the business side of all of this stuff, right? How do you make money on AI? Well, we're going to talk about that today. How do you generate new client referrals from AI? We're also going to talk about that today as well. So let's get into AI as a topic. Let's talk about it a little bit and know that this is one of those things that's going to change over time and change relatively quickly. So what I talk about today might be completely different a year from now, but that's all right. So this video might not have as long of a shelf life as some of the other ones, but it doesn't really matter. So let's go on the ramble. So the question remains, how do you make money with AI? Well, I think there's a couple different ways, and we came up with some good ideas when we were talking about it. And so let's get into it. But before we do that, these ideas are going to require you to be a little bit of a thought expert as it relates to AI. So you're going to need to level up your knowledge around AI a little bit. You don't need to be a full-on AI expert and an AI engineer and those kinds of things, but you do need to know some things. So I'm going to cover some of that top-level stuff first, and then we'll get into some actual AI revenue generation activities later on. It's also worth mentioning that there are tons of other resources out there, and I'll link some of the articles that I read and kind of dug into in the research for this video in the description of the video. So let's start with tools. You need to understand the landscape of the tools that are out there, right? There are many different AI-based tools, and you don't need to know them all, but you need to have a fundamental understanding of the core tools, especially as it relates to which tools will benefit your clients the most. And depending on the businesses and types of businesses that you support, some tools will be more natural fits than others. Depending on your clients and the verticals that they're in, they may find more benefit from using one tool over another, right? So, for example, if I'm thinking about doing some brainstorming and some of that kind of stuff, I might lean into ChatGPT over Copilot, for example. But if I need to get in and dig through my emails and Teams messages and come up with to-dos and stuff out of there and really kind of parse through some of those things or create Word docs or create PowerPoints, I might lean into a tool like Copilot. Those are just two examples. There's a bunch of tools out there. So again, you don't need to know them all, but you need to have a good understanding of some of the top tools anyway, especially as it relates to your core verticals and where your clients live. The next big piece is that you need to understand where AI is great and where it struggles, right? And this is one of those things that's going to change quickly because where AI struggles today is likely to shrink relatively quickly as the tools get better and better. So in general, I found AI to be great at brainstorming things, writing things, summarizing things. Also, it does a really good job with things like, I need a better video title for this video that I'm working on today, right? I will prompt AI for those kinds of things because I don't think like that necessarily when it comes to trying to be creative. That's just not where my creativity lands. Those kind of things AI is great at. It's great at parsing through data. It's great at giving you some analysis and those kinds of things. Now, as it relates to where it struggles, there's a few things that are worth mentioning. The first thing is that when it creates images, sometimes it can be a little funky, especially when you put humans in there or words in there. You've all seen those pictures where the AI tries to create an image of a person and their hand is like in the wrong position or has extra fingers or something like that, right? It's just kind of some of that crazy stuff that you see out there. That's going to get better over time, but that's an area where it struggles. It also struggles creating graphics with accurate spelling consistently, and that can be really frustrating if you're just trying to get something with an image with some text on it. It seems like that would be a really easy thing to do, and for whatever reason, it struggles with it currently. I don't expect that to last super long, but it currently is struggling with that. You've also heard plenty of instances where an AI hallucinates on things, right? Where it makes things up. For example, a while back, I asked ChatGPT for a PowerShell script, and it was a pretty well formatted PowerShell script. It looked pretty great, except it hallucinated on a switch that never existed in PowerShell. I actually had to go dig into why my script wasn't working, and it was because of that one switch. It just didn't exist, and it looked logical. It looked like it would have worked. It clearly just didn't work. So there are things where it just gets facts wrong because of the nature of the tool. So you need to make sure that you are checking the work of AI, that you're educating your clients on how to check the work with AI and those kinds of things. One area that I think it's important to develop ahead of time before you try to put any of this stuff in front of a client is you need to build some use cases that the client's going to care about. Many of the AI tools suffer from the blank canvas issue, where you have this blank canvas, you can do all kinds of cool stuff, but how do you do it, or what should you ask it for, and those kinds of things. So if you are trying to become a thought leader, I think it makes sense for you to build some use cases around how they might use the tools within their business, because once they start seeing it with some of their own stuff and having it delivered results for them, they're really going to lean into it. So build a few use cases ahead of time, because I think that's going to be a really important thing to do for building your thought leadership around AI tools in general. The last thing I want to cover before jumping into making money with AI is learning how to prompt. Learning how to prompt is really important. There are plenty of experts on prompting, and so rather than trying to regurgitate some of those things, I'm going to drop a couple links below with some videos and some links for you to take a look at on your own, because I think it's more complicated than what I have time to cover today. All right, so we're finally here. How do you make money using AI in your MSP? Well, as we were chatting in our peer group meeting, we came up with a couple ideas relatively quickly. Even though these ideas came up pretty quickly, they do require some effort. So just know that this isn't a real quick, thing to do and you can move on quickly. So just know that's going to require a little bit of effort on your part to execute on some of these things. Idea number one: train your clients how to use AI within their business. If you've got technology-minded clients or clients that are interested in AI, they're probably willing to pay somebody to come in and teach them how to use it to improve their business. You could come in and teach a workshop for your clients on how to leverage AI within their business. And this is where all of the stuff I talked about earlier in this video comes into play, because you can teach them some of the different examples and how to prompt and do some of these other pieces and which tools are better for them, and really talk about how they can go from, gee, this AI stuff is really cool, to I'm actually using it in my business, right? If you can do that for clients, they're willing to pay for it. Idea number two: use AI as a door opener. And what do I mean by door opener? Well, this is things like putting on webinars, speak at conferences, speak at networking events and those kinds of things, host lunch and learns, some of those ideas. One of the methods I talk to MSPs about upgrading their prospecting and marketing skills is to get in front of rooms of people. Getting in front of rooms of people really help build you up as a subject matter expert. You can use this AI content as one of those things, right? You can talk about AI, especially if you've built out some level of thought leadership content around it, as that door opener. You can bring that door opener to things like your Chamber of Commerce meetings, your networking meetings. You could host a webinar. You could host a lunch and learn if you have an office. You could partner with another company that has a similar target client profile as yours and host a lunch and learn together, right? There's a number of different things you can do where you can bring some of this AI thought leadership content to. You want to show people in the room that you are an expert, or at least an expert relative to them, and that you have the ability to teach them how to use AI to improve their business. If you can do those things, people will be much more likely to buy from you because you're building some of that trust factor with them. I've been a part of something similar to this when 365 was kind of growing up quickly, where we brought a number of prospects into our office to teach them how to use 365. It was far easier to sell them to come to this lunch and learn than it was to try to sell them on our services. And so once we had them there and taught them some stuff, they were much more likely to buy from us at that point, and we definitely closed some deals from that. And so you could leverage this, and you could do idea 1 and 2 together, right? Because the content is going to be very similar, if not the same. So you could actually do kind of both things. Teach your clients workshop style how to use AI specifically. Teach prospects how they could use AI in their business with maybe not quite so workshopy, although you certainly could. There's a number of different options you can do there. And if trying to do webinars or seminars or lunch and learns, if that's a thing that you like to do or want to do, this could be a really solid topic for you to use there. The third idea is really to sell licenses. And this is a little bit more specific to Copilot because there's a license you can sell. But one of the challenges I think with Copilot is if the client doesn't know how to use Copilot, you sell this license that requires a 1-year term that they don't know how to use, they're not going to love that very much. So this is where teaching them how to use Copilot a little bit is helpful. I would imagine that there's other opportunities with other AI tools as well, but the reality is that if you can teach your clients how to use the tools and you have the opportunity to sell the licenses that go along with it, that's a win-win. There's a lot to learn around AI, and I expect it to be an ever-changing landscape. As a fun thought experiment, I'm going to put together a slide deck and a presentation around how I might execute on idea number 2, that door opener webinar type of a situation. I'll use it as an upcoming ramble, and I'll definitely let you guys download the slides for use in your business if it's a thing you want to do. It's going to be a few weeks, but it's definitely coming. In the meantime, if you are looking for ways to generate more leads through prospecting, check out this video above. Thanks for coming on this ramble with me, and I hope to see you on the next one.